Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be building this full stack quiz app with Next.js 14, MongoDB, Prism, Sanity and Tailwind. We're going to start by adding authentication with Clerk. So let's go ahead and sign into our account with Google. Once we're signed in, we now have access to take the weekly quiz. We can view leaderboards. We can also view our stats. Let's start by taking a quiz. If you notice, we have a timer on the right hand side. Once it counts down to 0 and we don't have an answer chosen, it'll just skip the question and goes to the next one. So let's go ahead and run through these questions. I'm just going to answer the top answer for each one. And we're going to click finish. And as you can see, we get our results. I scored 40%. We got our total questions. We have the options to add more questions if we want. We got our total score, which we scored 20. Correct answers, I got 4. And wrong answers, I got 6. So I got the options to restart the quiz if I want, but I'd rather go ahead and check out the leaderboards to see where I place on them. Right now, I hold the #1 spot. Got the nice little crown next to my name. So hopefully, I keep acing these quizzes and keep this #1 spot. Let me go ahead and check my stats out. So I got a total of 1,670 points. Correct answers, I got 99 answers right, but I got a total of 227 answers wrong. So let's go ahead and get started on this full stack quiz app. All right, so let's go ahead and start our project with Next.js. So inside of the terminal, we're going to type in npx create next app at latest. And we will be using TypeScript. ESLint, no. Tailwind, yes. Source directory, no. App router, yes. And import alias, this is optional. You don't have to use it if you don't want to, but I will be using it in this project. So I'm gonna click yes, and then click enter again. All right, so once that's completed, let's go ahead and clean up everything. And then we're actually gonna start off with our authentication first. So before we do that, let's just clean up our files. So the favicon, we can delete. I like cleaning up everything. Nice clean project. Global CSS, we're gonna remove all of this stuff here. Layout, we're gonna come back to that here in a second. Page, you can select all and then export. Brand new page, and we could change this to home. And then change the export to home. All right, give that a save. All right, scrolling down inside of public, we can delete these SVGs. So now we can head over to our layout and we're gonna install our font and just work on our metadata. And then we're gonna do some stuff inside of our Tailwind config before we start with authentication. So inside of our layout, we don't want this enter font. We're actually gonna use a font called Railway. All right, and so we got to change this to Railway, and we could change this to Railway as well. And then down here we could just change this to Railway. All right, so we'll get an error because we got to import the weights as well. So we're going to do comma and just paste the weights. So we're going to do 203 4 5 6 7 8 7 9, not 8. And then give that a save. And then our metadata, we're going to change the title to this to Code Quiz. It's the name of our website. And then for description, I'm just going to do, I don't know. You probably want to be more descriptive than that. All right. So we got our metadata, and let's head over to our Tailwind config. And we're going to remove this background image. You don't need that. But we are going to extend our colors. And the first color is going to be our primary. And that code is 1B2FFF. Alright. And next is going to be our secondary. F5F8FE. Alright. I don't know why that was lowercase, but it's fine. And then last but not least, we're going to have dark, and it's going to be for our text. Our dark one is going to be 17 1B20. Give that a save, and those are our colors. All right, so let's go ahead and start up our server. I'm gonna do an npm run dev and head over to our page, our home page, and I'm just gonna do a div. And inside this div, I'm gonna have an h1, and it's gonna say authenticated, because we're about to start our authentication. And let's give it a class name, make sure Tailwind is working. I'm gonna do text primary. All right, perfect. And let's just change this to like text 3XL. All right, so we can see it a little bit better. All right, and we got our font there. That's the Railway font. All right, so we're gonna head over to clerk.com. If you don't already have an account, just make an account, because this is what we're gonna be using for our authentication. So head over to your dashboard, and Clerk makes it so easy to add authentication to your project. One of my favorites. And you want to click on create application, and application name is going to be code quiz, and you can actually choose which sign-in options you want. You don't have to use the same ones that I'm using, but we won't be using email. We're just going to be using Google and Facebook in this project. But if you want, you can add GitHub, Microsoft. It really doesn't matter. It will still work. But in this project, we're just going to be using Google and Facebook. I'm going to click on create application. So now it's giving me a public key, a publishable key, and a secret key. We're going to go ahead and copy that. And we're going to click on continue in docs. And their documentation is so good. It just walks you through everything, and it's so easy. So let's go ahead and start this. So let's actually make a .env file. .env. And we're going to make sure we add this to our git ignore. I don't know if it's already in there. All right. And just go ahead and paste our publishable key and our Clerk secret key. Don't use mine, please. Every time I create a project, I go to my MongoDB database or something, and it's just filled with like random stuff. But I'm not gonna make that mistake this time. This is gonna get changed before I upload this video. All right. So now we just gotta install Clerk. So let's copy this. I'm gonna open up our terminal. Now I'm just gonna open up a new, so our server can stay online. I'm going to npm install Clerk /Next.js. Let that install. And we're going to move on to number 2. So we already did this. And now we got to wrap our application with this Clerk provider. Close out of that. And head over to our layout. Now we should have access to our Clerk provider. So import Clerk provider. And we're going to wrap our whole entire application with this. All right, so that's done. Step number 4 is to create a middleware.ts file. So inside of the root, we're gonna do a file. It's gonna be called middleware.ts. All right, and we can just copy this over and paste it in there. We're actually gonna come back to this. There's a few things we gotta put in here, and actually, we could probably copy step number 4.3. So step number 4, but number 3 is probably the one that we want. So let's copy this one, and we can actually get rid of all these comments, clean it up a bit, and we can actually get rid of the public routes and ignored routes. All right, so number 5. We already started our project. Let's go ahead and refresh it. Maybe we'll be directed to sign in now. So perfect. All right. But as you can see, it's not our website. We get sent over to this random generated URL, but we don't want that. We want it to be on our own website. the sign in page. So to do that, let's see, create custom sign up and sign in pages. So yep, here we go. All right, so let's actually copy number 3 over, and we're gonna head over to our .env. I'm gonna paste that in there. So this is basically telling Clerk that we want our sign in page to be /sign-in. We want our sign up the page to be /sign up. So these are our routes. And then after we sign in, it's going to send us back to home. And then after sign up, it's going to send us back to home. All right. So if this works, we should get a 404. Let's see. Yep. So we should get a 404 because we don't have these routes yet inside of our app router. So let's go ahead and create those now. This is step number 1. So inside of our app, it says that we have to create a folder called sign up. It's going to do that. Sign -up. And then inside that folder, we're going to create another folder. And this is going to be double brackets, ... sign -up. And then close the double brackets like that. All right. And now inside of that, we're going to have our page.tsx. And we can go ahead and copy over this and paste that in there. That's our sign up page. And inside of our sign in page is going to be the same exact thing. But before we actually do that, I kind of forgot something. So I kind of want to organize this a bit better. So inside of our app, we're going to create another folder. We're going to do parentheses, do auth. This is where all our authentication stuff is going to go. So we can put in this sign up form inside of that auth. Perfect. And now let's go ahead and create the sign in page. And it's the same exact thing. That's our sign in. All right. So with that, it should work now. So let's see if this works. Maybe we did something wrong. All right. So I just had to refresh to get rid of that error. So if you head over to just localhost 3000, we just get directed to our sign in and sign up pages. So with that, you got authentication. We could style this page up a bit. So let's head over to, what page are we on? Are we on sign in? Okay, so we're on sign in. So what we're going to do is wrap this around in a div. I'm gonna do a div, and I zoomed in a bit more. Sign in. All right, and we can add a class name to this. I'm gonna do a class name of flex, justify center, item center, a height of screen, and then a BG. We can actually do a BG of secondary. Let's see how that looks. Perfect. And what we can do is copy over everything and then head over to our sign up and just paste it in here, but change sign up to sign in to sign up. All right. So once we click sign up, it should be the exact same thing. All right, so let's test this out. I'm going to sign in with my Google, and now we get authenticated. And if we head over to our Clerk and click over to users, and as you can see, we got our users. Perfect. And we can do a lot with this. We could ban user, we can set a password. Just so much you can do with Clerk, and it's like magic, I'm not gonna lie. All right, so now it's time to configure our Prisma and MongoDB database. So we're gonna head over to Prisma, and we're also gonna head over to MongoDB. Go ahead and sign in with Google. If you don't already have a MongoDB account, just go ahead and create one right quick. And I'm gonna head back over to Prisma. I'm gonna click on Get Started. And to the left, you should see Quick Start. All right. And so we already got TypeScript installed, so we don't need that. We can skip down to here where it says npm install Prisma --save-dev. So we want to copy that, head back over to our project, and paste that in there. Let that install. Let's go ahead and copy this over the Prisma init, data source, provider. Well, we won't be using SQLite. We're going to be using MongoDB. So what we can do is actually erase that and do MongoDB. All right, and this should generate us a Prisma folder with a schema already inside, as you can see. All right, let's go ahead and get rid of these comments. I'm zoomed in a lot, so it might look a little weird. Just want to make sure you guys can see. All right, so now we just got to do our schema now. Okay, but before we do our schema, let's head over to our MongoDB database. And as you can see, I already have a quiz one already, but I'm going to create a new one. Click on new project, and the project name is going to be quiz-yt. Next, click on create project. We don't need to do any of that stuff. All right, perfect. And now it's going to say create. Actually, we're going to head over to database. Click on database. It's going to be build a database. All right. And we're going to do a free one. We can keep everything the same. Click on create. It's asking me to choose motorcycles. All right, so this is very important. Make sure you just don't skip past this. I did it a few times. You just want to change the password to something you're going to remember. I'm just going to change it to my name, Antonio. And a username, I'm just going to do admin, like that. And then click on create user. And for the IP, we're just going to do 0.0.0.0. And I'm going to go ahead and add entry. And then finish and close. All right, congratulations on setting up your access rules. All right. So now we can go ahead and click on connect. And then we'll click on drivers. So we don't have to install MongoDB, but we just need this URL right here. Copy that over and close. Head over to our .env. And as you can see, Prisma already generated us some stuff inside of our .env files. Erase all of this stuff. All right. And we don't need this MongoDB URL. We need this one. All right. And as you can see, it says password. We can erase that and we're just gonna type in our password that we made up. And right after this slash here, the slash and right in between the slash and this question mark, we're just gonna type in quiz. All right, so let's head back over to our schema, and I'm gonna go ahead and paste this in here. I will go over it. Inside of the description, there will be a GitHub gist with the schema inside, or you can head over to the GitHub repository and just copy it over. It's not that much. It's only 2 models. I am about to go over it though. So we got our user, model user, and each user is going to have an ID. They're going to have a username, an email, which is going to be unique, profile picture, which is going to be a string, clerk user ID, that's going to come from our clerk, created at time, updated at time. Honestly, we don't even use these, so you probably don't even need to add them, but just add it anyway. Quiz results, that's going to be quiz results. It's going to be an array, so it's going to be down here, this model, which each quiz result is going to have an ID. It's going to have a user with a relation to the user ID. So basically, we're just tying up this quiz result to the user. User ID is going to be a string. Quiz score is going to be a number. Correct answer is going to be a number. Wrong answer is going to be a number. And created that. Perfect. All right. So we can head back over to our terminal and we can type in a command. We're going to do npx prisma db push. All right. So hopefully everything works. Run and generate. And we got the check mark. So let's go back to our MongoDB and click on database. I'm gonna click on this cluster. Actually, sorry. And click on browse collections. And as you can see, we got our user and we got our quiz result. Perfect. All right, so we can keep our MongoDB database open because we're going to run some testing here in a few, because we're about to create our first server action. But before we do that, we want to create a folder inside of our root. It's going to be called lib. And inside here, we're going to have a file called prisma.ts. And this is just a best practice to do, just so that way we don't get an error saying that we call in Prisma client too much. I'm going to go ahead and paste this in there. I use this in all of my projects. If you guys want to head over to the GitHub repository or the GitHub just in the description, just copy this over right quick. So that's complete. So we're going to create a file inside of our app auth folder, and it's going to be called actions. And inside this action, we're going to be create another file. It's going to be called fetch users.ts. All right, perfect. And since we're using server actions, we're gonna, at the top of this page, we're gonna use server, and we're gonna import that Prisma file that we just made. For some reason, I never get an autocomplete for it. I gotta type all this out. We're gonna do @/lib/Prisma, and then we're also gonna import current user. This is coming from our Clerk /Next.js. So let's do an export cons, and we'll do fetch users, and it's gonna be async. So we're gonna do a try catch. I'm gonna do a try, and the first thing we're gonna do is basically just check if the user already exists inside of our database. So what we got to do here, we're gonna do a cons clerk user, and that's going to be await current user. All right, and then we're gonna do a let Mongo user. That's going to be null. All right, then we're gonna do Mongo user equals await Prisma. So once we click that, we should have access to a bunch of stuff. So we're just going to be using our user model, Prisma.findUnique, parentheses, brackets. So we got to tell it where to find it. So we're going to do where. And we want it to be our clerk user ID. So we got to tell it what the clerk, so basically we got to tell it what we want it to find and what we're going to use to find it. So we're going to use our clerk user dot. So once you click that, you should have access. You see band, you see birthday. I didn't even know birthday was up there. Email address, first name, and image URL and stuff like that. We want ID. And this is coming from this await current user from Clerk. All right, perfect. So still inside of this try, I'm gonna do if we don't get a Mongo user. So basically, if the user don't exist, we're gonna do let username. That's going to equal our clerk user dot username. All right, and then we're gonna do if they don't have a username, we want the username to be clerk user dot first name plus, do an empty quotes there, and we do plus our clerk user dot last name. All right, so now it's time to actually create our user. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a const new user, and take in the clerk user ID, and that's going to be our clerk user dot ID. Let me see why it's not autocomplete. Oh, it did. Okay. All right, then we do a comma, and then we're going to take in our username, comma, and then our email. That's going to be our clerk user dot email address. Since it's an array, I'm going to take the first index, which is 0. I'm going to do dot email address. And then we're going to also take in our profile picture. Profile pic. That's going to be clerk user dot image URL. Okay, perfect. So now we got to tell Prisma to actually create this. So after this, we're going to do Mongo user. It's going to equal await Prisma dot user dot create and parentheses brackets. Just gotta give it data, and the data is going to be new user. For new user, let's do any like that. We'll come back and fix that any. For now, it's not really best practice to use any. All right. So after this, we got to fetch the quiz results for the user. So we're gonna do a cons quiz results. That's going to equal await Prisma dot quiz results dot find many. Scroll down some. You gotta tell it where. So where is going to be our user ID, which is going to be our Mongo user dot ID. All right, perfect. So after this, we want to return our data. It's going to be our user. It's going to be our Mongo user. And also our quiz results, which is going to be quiz results. Probably could have just put, instead of quiz results, probably could have just put quiz results like that. Should work. And now we need our catch. As you can see, we get an error. So whenever you use try, you gotta make sure you use catch. We gotta do catch, and we can just catch an error, and we could console.log the error. I believe that is it for our fetch users. We might have to come back in here and change up a few stuff, but for now, I believe that is it for our server action to fetch our users. All right, so we can't just test this out right now. We actually going to create a layout provider, and we're going to wrap our whole entire application up with that. But before we do that, let's go ahead and create a components folder inside of our root. And we're just going to create our navbar and footer components. We're not going to style them up yet. We're just going to export them. I'm going to create a file. It's going to be navbar tsx. Just going to export them. And then our footer, because we're going to be using this inside of our layout provider. All right, perfect. Let's go ahead and close out all of this stuff. And inside of our root, we're going to create another folder called providers. And this is something that I just started doing. Actually, my first project doing this is doing a layout provider. So inside of this, we're going to do layout provider .tsx. All right. So we got to make this a use client, and we're going to import use path name. That's going to be coming from Next Navigation. And then we're also going to import our fetch users. We're going to import use effect and also use state from React. And let's go ahead and import our navbar and also our footer. Perfect. All right, so we're gonna have a function, and this is going to be our layout provider. Like I said, we're gonna wrap our whole application up with this. Well, not our whole, we're just gonna wrap our children up. All right, so it's gonna take in our children, like I just said, children, and we are gonna get a TypeScript error. To get rid of that, we're just gonna do parentheses and children is going to be a React node. New cons path name. That's going to equal use path name. All right, so we're going to do a cons is public route. This is going to be brackets sign dash in. I'm going to do a comma sign dash up. These are basically the routes that any user can use without being authenticated. So that's basically our sign in and sign up pages. So new dot includes parentheses path name dot split, do parentheses, quotes, do a slash, then we're going to take the first index. So let me just explain this a little bit. So this is basically turning this sign in string into an array. So we're doing a dot split. So this is basically turning it into this. Let's turn it to an array, split with empty quotes like that, comma, I believe it's like sign in like that. So we'll turn it to that, and then we're just taking the first index because that's how an array works. So we'll go 0, 1, 2, 3. So we're taking this 1. Hopefully that makes sense. All right. So that is our public route. And now what we're going to do is make some space here. We're going to do a cons get navbar, check if we got is public route. Then we're going to return null. But else, we're just going to return, you don't even got to write an else, we're just going to return our navbar like that. All right, so if it's public route, we just return a null. But else, we're just going to return navbar. So we can actually copy this and paste it one more time, and we can just change this to get footer, and just we're going to return footer. All right, and then we're actually going to paste it again because now we're going to do get content. This is going to return our children. So inside of this div, we're going to do, actually we don't even need this, we could just do fragments, and it's going to return our children like that. All right, so we got our get navbar, get footer, and get content. So now we're going to get our current use, make a get current user function. So right down here, do a cons get current user and another try catch. We're going to do try, do a cons response. It's going to equal await our fetch user. All right, and we can do some error handling here. So we're going to do if our response dot error, we're just going to throw, I don't know why it's throw a new error, and that's going to be a response dot error dot message. I don't know why I'm not getting autocomplete. You know, it's something wrong when you don't get those autocompletes. Let's see what's up. All right, so we got our try, const response. I can just do any for this. And that's going to equal await fetch users. And if our response.error, okay, perfect. And throw a new error. And that's going to do our catch. Do a catch. And we're just going to catch an error. And then we could just console.log the error. We're going to do console.log error. This error handling really helps when you're building a project, when it's already built and I already know all this stuff works. But I mean, it's good to have it because I'm not gonna lie, I had to go through a lot of trial and error. So this error handling really helps. And then we can do a finally, and there we could just do a return. All right. I'm going to save that, and hopefully that works. And we're going to do a use effect. Inside this use effect, we're going to check if it's not is public route. So if it's not, we're going to do our get current user function. And whenever you're using use effect, you got to make sure you use a dependency array. We only want this to run when the component mounts. Okay. All right, so now it's time to do our return statement. Return, I'm going to return a div with a class name of flex call, justify between, a min height of screen, and then also a BG of secondary. Okay. And in here, we're just going to run our 3 functions. It's going to be our get navbar, like that. Then we're going to run our get content, and then also our get footer, like that. All right, perfect. And we also need to export this. So I'm going to export default layout provider. Okay. So with that, all we have to do is wrap our children up inside of our layout, and we can actually test this out, and hopefully this works. Where are we at? I'm lost here. Always get lost. There we go. Layout. All right, so let's go ahead and wrap our children up with this. Layout provider. Give that a save. And we got our navbar. We got authenticated. We also got footer. It's not getting us styles though. Hold on. Maybe we need to add a min height on our body inside of our layout, maybe as well. So to do that, what we can do is we can wrap this up with brackets again, like that. Put a $sign. Actually, here, do backticks, $sign there, and then now we can write some extra class names. Do a min height of screen. All right, so let's just ignore that for now. Let's test and see if this works. Let's see, maybe our user, yep, it does, because the component mounted, and we got our user here. So we're in that use effect. So we didn't even need to sign out and sign back in. I was about to head over to Clerk and delete the user, so that way we can sign out, because we don't have any. Actually, we can sign out. I believe we could just go to localhost 3000/sign out. But we don't need to do that because we got our user here. We don't have any quiz results because we didn't take the quiz yet. So yeah, we got our ID, we got our username, we got our email, profile pic, which is image.clerk, and I'm glad that that showed up because we actually have to do something inside of our next config for us to get access to that profile picture. So there's a few things we got to do. So first thing I like doing is React strict mode false. This and we're going to do images. Inside here, we're going to do remote patterns, brackets, and then we need a protocol, which is going to be HTTPS. And then we also need our host name, which is going to be image.clerk.com. All right. So we can have access to our images. We can close out of that now. And perfect. All right, I noticed that I was zoomed out a bit on the MongoDB, so it's kind of hard to see, but zoomed in a bit. So now I think it's time to actually start our navbar, and I know why it's like this, because we don't have any width set for our none of our components, so that's why it's lined up like this. So inside of our navbar, let's start off with this one. We're gonna make some imports here. Let's see. All right, so open up your terminal and we're going to install React icons. So npm I react-icons. All right, let that install, and we're gonna make some imports first. We're gonna make this a use client, and then we're gonna import user button. That's going to be coming from Clerk / Next.js. We're gonna import link from Next, and then we're gonna also import MD quiz, and that's coming from React icons /MD. All right, make some space here. And last but not least, we're gonna import user menu. User menu. Oh, we didn't create that yet, the user menu. I was confused for a second. So yeah, we're gonna create a user menu. Let's actually create that right quick. Inside of components, do user menu.tsx. Going to export it. Get back over to our navbar, and let's go ahead and import it here. Perfect. All right. So let's go ahead and start styling this thing up. So first, we're gonna have a div with a class name of pattern top 5. And then inside this div, we're gonna have another div with a class name of max width 1500 pixels, mx of auto, a width of 90%, flex, justify between, item center, and then a border bottom, border B, and then a pattern 5. All right, let's take a look. Should be able to see something there. Probably got to give it a refresh, because I believe once we mess with our next config, it restarts our server. So yeah, give this a second to reload. All right, perfect. We don't see anything there because we don't have any content in there yet. So I have a div, and this div is not going to have any class name, but it's going to hold our logo. So we have a link. I don't know why that didn't. All right, so we're using link from Next.js, so we need to give it a href. Href is just going to lead us back to home. And this link is going to have a class name of flex gap1 item center. Inside here, we're going to have our h1, the class name of text2xl dark, and then a font bold. All right, and it's going to say code quiz. Take a look at that right quick. All right, perfect. Okay, so yeah, it's really not, that flex call is really not working. I had to go back and look at that. All right, so for now, inside of the layout provider, let's actually just get rid of flex call and justify between, just so that way we can start styling this up. Once everything finished, we'll come back and figure that out. Maybe we don't need it, to be honest. So let's head back over to our navbar, finish styling this up. So after our h1, we're gonna have our React icon, which is MD quiz. And we're gonna give this a class name of text primary, and also a text2xl as well. Let's take a quick look at this. This a refresh. Perfect. All right, so just to save some space in our code, we can remove text to Excel for MD quiz and remove text to Excel for this H1, and we can just add it here on our link class like that. Give that a save and it shouldn't change. All right, perfect. So after this div here, we're gonna have another div. This is going to have a class name of MD block. By default, it's going to be hidden. Justify center. We're gonna do a text, no wrap, and then an item center. I actually don't know why we did that, because we're not using flex for that. We could probably remove that. And then we have a span. It's gonna have a class name of BG primary, PX of 5, PY of 1, rounded MD, and then a text white. And inside the span, we're gonna do today's category is JavaScript. Like that. Let's take a look at that right quick. All right, perfect. So we can actually remove this item center, keep the text no wrap, justify center, keep the hidden and the block. I don't think we need any of those. All right, perfect. So we got that. And now make some space. This is where our user button and our user menu is gonna go. So we're gonna do a div, class name of flex, item center, a gap of 3, and then a justify in. Okay. That's going to be our user menu. And also our user button. All right, take a look. So we should just see user menu and then our user button, because we don't have any styles for it. But with Clerk, you get access to, that's why I say it's like magic. It just takes over your whole entire site. So we got our div, we got our user button. And yeah, I believe that is it for our navbar. Let's head over to our user menu right quick, and we're gonna style this up a bit. I'm gonna import link from Next. We're gonna import use state, and then we also gonna import a React icon. I'm just gonna copy this over, save us a little bit of time. All right. So CG menu grid 0, that's coming from React icon /CG. All right, so it's going to set some state. We're going to do open user menu, and then also set open user menu. It's going to equal use state. By default, it's going to be false. All right. And we're gonna do some links here. Actually, let's do our use menu handler. So here we're gonna do use menu handler, and in here we're just basically going to just set our open user menu to toggle our open user menu. So basically it's gonna toggle back and forth. All right. Don't know why I put brackets. Oh, I forgot the arrow too. Oh man. All right. So now we're gonna have our links. We're only gonna have 2 links for our user menu. It's gonna be stats and leaderboards. There's gonna be an array. We're gonna take in a name and our path, which is gonna be stats. So then the next one's gonna be leaderboards, and our path is gonna be /leaderboards. All right, so it's gonna write some JSX here. So we're gonna have a div, and on this div, it's going to be a few things we're going to do. First, we're going to have a class name of textxl, margin top of 1, cursor pointer, and also a padding of 2. And then we're going to have 2 event listeners. So we're going to have on mouse enter, and this is basically going to set our open user menu to true. Okay. And next we're going to have our on mouse leave, and this is going to set our open user menu to false. All right. So every time we click, it's going to be open, false. It's going to be true, false, true, false, true, false. Okay. All right. So inside this div, I have a class name of relative. And here we're going to have our CG menu grid 0. Take a quick look at that. We should see like a little menu grid here. Perfect. And underneath here, we're going to render some stuff out conditionally. So we're going to do brackets. So if it's open user menu, we're going to do the and, so we're going to do the short circuiting method. We're going to render out a UL with a class name of absolute, a BG of primary, a Z index of 99, a top of 7. You can play around with these numbers. These are the best ones I found. That centers it right underneath that that menu grid. Then we're gonna do it on small screens. We're gonna do a left of negative 60 pixels, and then on medium screens and up, we're gonna do a left of negative 80 pixels, a pattern of 3, text white, a rounded MD, and then a text center. All right. Take a look. We should see like a little blue thing there. There's no content in it, but as you can see, every time we hover, we get access to it. Okay. All right, so in here, we're gonna map through our links. So we're gonna do brackets, do links, dot map, and take in our link. We can also take in our index, that, and we're gonna return some JSX. So we're gonna do parentheses. And for each link, we're gonna render out a link tag from Next.js. And we gotta give this a key, which is going to be our index. And then we also can give it a href, which is going to be our link.path class name. We're going to give it an on click. And this is for mobile. So whenever we click, we want to set the open user menu to false. We're going to do set open user menu to false, because when you're on mobile, that on mouse enter, on mouse leave kind of don't work. You just click on it and then it opens up and it stays open. So to close it, click on a link and it'll close it, or you can click off of it and it should close it. All right, and then we have an li, and this is going to have a class name of hover underline. In here is going to be our link.name. With that, we should have our links now, and we got access to them. Perfect. And if we click on them, we'll get a 404. So because we didn't create those routes yet. All right. So before we start our footer, I think we should just go ahead and knock out our hero section, because I'm tired of seeing this authenticated right there. So inside of components, we're going to create another file. It's going to be called hero.tsx. And inside of our, that's going to export it since we're here. Inside of our page, get rid of this H1. You can actually get rid of that and do fragments. And then we're going to do hero. All right, so let's import link from Next.js. And let's start stalling up our hero section. So we're going to have a section, and it's going to have a class name of relative, width full, a min height of 500 pixels. Sorry, I thought I was getting a phone call for a second. Flex, item center, justify center, and text center. In here, we're gonna have another div for a div, and it's gonna be a class name of px4, medium screens and up. We're gonna do a px of 6, and we're actually gonna use actually we're gonna do a max width of 1500 pixels, and max of auto, and a width of 90%. Let's go ahead. We're gonna have another div in here, and this div is gonna have a class name of space y2. We have an h1. This is gonna have a class name of text 4XL, a font of bold, a tracking of tighter, and then we're gonna do a small of text 5XL, medium screens and up. I don't know why I say a small screens and up. We're gonna do a text 5XL. On medium screens and up, we're gonna do a text 6XL, and then on large screens and up, we're gonna do a text 7XL, and then we're going to do a text of dark. Okay, let's take a look. So we shouldn't see anything. Nothing's inside of our H1 yet. Do ready to take this week's quiz. It should be right there in the center. Perfect. All right, so underneath this H1, we're gonna have a P tag, and in here is gonna say get ready to ace it, period. And this is gonna have a class name text gray 600. Let's take a look. Nice. All right, underneath this P tag, actually underneath this div, I have another div, and this is gonna have a class name of just margin top 6. And inside this div, we're gonna have a link, and this link is going to lead us to quiz, so our actual quiz. And this link, we can actually make this, have this a class name. We're gonna do an inline of flex, item center, justify center, a rounded MD, a BG of primary, PX of 8, PY of 3, text small, font medium, and then a text gray 500. All right, I believe that is, maybe we got some more actually, hold on. I had to scroll over. Text gray 50, sorry. And then we're gonna do a shadow, and then we're gonna do a transition. We're gonna do the transition of colors, and then we're gonna hover to be primary. We're gonna give it an opacity of 80. See how 80 looks there. Probably change that. And then inside of this link, we're just going to, say ready MF. You guys don't know what MF stand for? Look it up. All right, so yeah, when we hover, as you can see, maybe add a duration to a duration of 500. There we go. All right, perfect. All right, nice. So that right there is our hero section. So we can go down to our footer and we can knock this out right quick. Pretty simple footer. So it's gonna return a footer with a class name of py10, and then we have a div inside this footer with a class name of max width 1500 pixels, mx of auto, width of 90%. Probably should have made a reusable class. Text center, and then we have a span in here, and I'm just going to actually copy this over. Inside this span, it's just going to be copyright 2024, all rights reserved by codequiz.com. And as you can see, we see it there. Perfect. All right, so let's see. Okay, it seems to be. So the only thing is the footer is all the way up here, but we want it down here. All right, so I'm actually curious, and I want to see if this is going to work. So I'm going to make a style inside of the global CSS, and I'm going to try to add it to that layout and see if that works. Flex column works on that. So I'm going to do at layer. I'm going to try like this first. I'm just going to do flex, or I'm just going to do styles, I guess. And then the name of this is just going to be, I guess, flex col, like that. And then we're just going to apply flex col like that. I just want to see if this works. All right, so let's head over to our layout provider and let's add this class. So we got flex, and now we got access to flex col like that. I just want to see if this works. Oh, it seems to be working. But now we just got to do a justify between. And now we, oh my God. Okay, so that works right there. All right, so now it's time to add Sanity IO. But before we do that, I want to close out of all of this stuff, clean it up a bit. Have a nice fresh start. And as you probably noticed, we got a new file here, data.ts. So in the description, inside of the GitHub gist, or you can head over to the Git repository. I recommend downloading this so that way you can just copy over the questions, the answers, and the correct answer. But we will be using Sanity IO, so we're not going to even fetch from this data file. We're going to be fetching our data from Sanity IO. So this is just here just so you can have a general idea of the type of questions we'll be using. I got these from ChatGPT. I just typed in 20 hard JavaScript questions or something like that, and it spit out all of this stuff. So these are pretty hard, I'm not gonna lie. Some of these are pretty easy, like this one. It's pretty easy. Yeah, some of these are actually really easy. Yeah, so make sure you download this, and let's go ahead and head over to Sanity IO and create an account if you don't have one. I already have an account, and just click on manage, and I'm gonna do create new project. It's gonna give you this command. Head over back to your project and paste that command in, and it's gonna ask a ton of questions. All right, so I'm gonna create a new project. Project name, I'm just gonna do quiz-YouTube, and use the default data set. I'm gonna say yes, and it's gonna be creating data set, and it's gonna ask, would you like to add configuration files? Yes. TypeScript, yes. Embedded Sanity Studio, yes. App directory, yes. And then /studio, that's gonna be our route, so yes. And clean project with no predefined schema. and then yes for that question. And it's going to take a while to install. All right, so it just finished, and for some reason, every time I install Sanity, it messes up my Tailwind config. Probably did the same thing for you guys. So if you head down to Tailwind config, as you can see, the errors here. All you got to do is hover over it and just do quotes, and then click save, and that error should go away. All right, so we got Sanity installed. It made us a Sanity folder with schema and env. And if you look inside our .env file, it also added some stuff in here, our Sanity project ID and our Sanity data set. All right, and it also, inside of our app, it made a route. So we got Sanity Studio here, so you don't want to touch anything in there. All right, so what we're going to do is, inside of Sanity, the Sanity folder, we're going to create a file, and it's going to be called questions.ts. All right. And here, I'm actually just going to paste this in there. I'm going to export default, and you got to give it a name. You got to give it a title, which is questions, a type, which is document, and our fields. All right. And we're taking in, take a name, and we're taking a name, which is question, title, which is question, and the type is going to be string. And then our answers is going to be an array, because we get to choose, which answer is correct. So that's going to be type array, and I do of type array, and they're all going to be string. And then next one is correct answer, title correct answer, type is string. All right. So that is our question schema. So we can head over to schema, and we can import that in here. Import questions. And all we got to do is, inside of types, add questions like that. All right. Close out of that and close out of that. And now we're going to head over to our project. And now we can do /studio. All right. So once it loads, as you can see, we are getting an error. All we got to do is click on continue. It's going to take us back to our Sanity IO settings. Now we got to do is add course origin. And then it should reload, and we should have access. All right, so we got to sign back in. I signed in with my GitHub. All right, so once we're in, as you can see, we got our scheme, we got our questions here, and we can create, once we click this plus sign, we should be able to create our questions. I don't know why it's going so slow, super slow. All right, so we got question there. As you can see, I still got some of the questions that I made before. We got our answers, which is going to be an array, so we could keep adding as many as we want. And we got our correct answer there. So what I intended this website to be is basically, and that's the whole reason why I'm using Sanity for this, is every single day or week, as you can see, I put today's there. Every single day or week, a new quiz will come with a different category. So this week is JavaScript. So it shows, today's category, which is JavaScript for this entire week. So that's going to stay JavaScript for the whole week. And then, next week it'll be something like CSS. That way you can come in here and change up the questions really quickly with Sanity Studio. You don't even have to go open your VS Code to change all the questions for that week. And then yeah, so it's that easy. So I'm gonna do one question, and then off camera I'm just gonna add the rest of them. So head over to the data, or if you guys want to come up with your own questions for now, you can, and just copy over this question, paste that in there. So that's the question, and then answer. We got number, we got string, object, undefined, string, object, undefined, and the correct answer is string. All right. Once we do that, we can click publish, and we got our question published. So off camera, I'm gonna go ahead and add the rest of these. I believe I got more than 10, but I'm only gonna add 10 here. So he has a bunch to choose from, 20. So yeah, I'm just gonna add 10 and I'll meet you guys right back. All right, so I finally finished. I got 10 questions here. So we can actually head back to our home page. And now we need to fetch these questions and we're gonna send it over to our actual quiz. That's why we're gonna get, and then we're gonna get started on our actual quiz. Let's close out of that. Let's make a folder. Let me call it quiz. And in here, we're gonna have our page.tsx. Give that a save and let's click on this button now. And it should take us to quiz. Perfect. So we got page there. All right. So in here, we're just going to return our quiz component, but we didn't create this quiz component yet. We're about to. All right. So inside of components, create another file, name it quiz.tsx. Same thing, I'm gonna export it and import it here. All right, perfect. All right, so to fetch data from Sanity, we gotta import our client. It's gonna be brackets client like that. Probably gotta manually import it. So many clients there. So it's gonna be coming from our sanity or @sanity/lib/client. And we also going to import our fetch user server action. All right. So outside of our page function, so make sure you don't add this inside there. We're going to go on top of that. We're going to do an export const dynamic equals force dynamic. All right. And then we're going to do an async function get data into a const query. Why are we, I spelled function wrong. I was wondering, I'm like, hold on. Okay, const query. And then we're going to do backticks, the little star symbol. If I can find it, there we go. Brackets, underscore, type. This is all inside of Sanity IO docs, by the way. And then we gotta call out our schema, which is questions, like that. And we basically want to tell what we want to pull from this. So we want to pull the question, we want to pull the answers, and then we also want to pull correct answers. All right. Oh, this backtick is not supposed to end right there. It's supposed to end down here. And now we're going to do a const data that's going to equal await client.fetch, and we're going to fetch the query. And last but not least, we're just going to return data. All right. Perfect. So we got access to our questions, answers, and corrected answers now. We're going to do const questions equals await get data. And since we're using await, we got to change this to async. And then we also going to do const user. That's going to equal await fetch users, because we want to fetch the user ID. So let's go ahead and get that now. We're going to do const user ID is going to equal, you would probably think we'll just do user.id, but we can't do it like that. We got to do user.data.user.id. All right, perfect. And we want to send over these props to our quiz. I'm going to do questions. It's going to be questions. And user ID is going to be user ID. Nice. Oh, forgot the S there. There we go. All right, so we will be getting an error because we haven't received the props inside of our quiz app, but we're gonna go do that here in a second. Before we actually start styling up our quiz, we do have to make an important API route. So inside of app, we're gonna create a folder. It's gonna be called API. And then in here, we're gonna create another folder. It's going to be called quizResults. And inside this folder, this is where we're going to have our route.ts. All right, perfect. All right, so I'm going to explain this route. I'm going to paste it. It's not that much because we do have a long file ahead of us. This quiz component is going to be, I believe, 200, 300 lines of code. It's going to be pretty long. It's a bunch of features and stuff we got to add to that. So I'm going to paste this in here. So I am going to go over it. It's not too much. If you guys want to copy and paste this file, just head over to the GitHub repository or just the GitHub. It'll be quicker that way. So we're just importing our next response. Basically, these are just types: next response, next server. And down here, we are basically parsing the JSON body of the request right here. And then here, we're just extracting that data from the body. So we're using the destructor, I can't say that word, destructoring method. So we're taking user ID, quiz score, correct answers, wrong answers. And then down here, we're just basically trying to find the user from our database and make sure that we include the quiz results. And down here is where all the magic happens. So basically, what we're doing here is if the user already exists and has quiz results, we're just going to increment their quiz score, their correct answers, and their wrong answers with the score, with the data that we get from our body. So for example, if I already took a quiz, let's say I took a quiz last week and I scored 100 on it. That was my first quiz. I got 100 points total. And I'll take one this week and I scored 30 on it. This function here basically will make that score be 130 instead of having two separate scores. So just increments. I'm really trying to explain it the best I can, but once you break it down, it's really simple. So just basically just checking to see if the user exists inside of our database and if they have quiz results. If they do, we just increment them from the data that we're pulling from our body that we're going to send over via post request. All right. And then down here, so if they don't have none of that, we're actually just going to create them new data. So we're going to create them new quiz results. And that's what that's doing down here. So really simple. And we're just catching an error. All right. All right. So now it's time to actually do our quiz component. It's a really long component, really complex. We got a timer in there. We got a bunch of functionality, and it's gonna be a long one. But we're gonna take it slow and have fun building this thing. You know, that's the most important part. So first thing we're gonna do is make this a client component, and we're gonna import use state and use React. I say use React, use effect. Use effect. All right. And then we also going to import, we're going to create another component right quick. It's going to be called stat card.tsx. And we're just going to export it for now. Get back over to our quiz and let's go and import it here. So we are taking in some props here. We're taking in our questions. And we also taking in our user ID. User ID. All right. So let's go ahead and do an interface for this. So take care of our TypeScript errors. So interface quiz props. That's going to be questions. question, which is a string. We got answers, which is a string, but is an array of strings. And then correct answer, which is also a string. And then we're not doing an image. All right, so this is an array, so we can put an array after that. And then we also taken in our user ID, which is a string, or it can be undefined, like that. All right, go ahead and add our type here. All right, so that got rid of that error. So now it's time to set some state, and this will be a bunch of states. So we got const active question. We got set active question. And by default, that's going to be use state 0. All right. And then we got another one, const select answer. And then set select answer. And that's going to be default use state. And that's going to be empty quotes. All right. Then we got const checked, then set checked. That's going to equal use state default false. All right. We got a few more here. Told you it's gonna be a long one. It's gonna be a long one. Let's relax and let's have some fun. Cons. This was going to be selected answer index, and then set selected answer index. And by default, this is going to be null. We can't just put it like that because we will get some errors down low. So we're just going to do number, or it can be null, like that. All right, we got selected answer. Select answer index and set select answer index. Then we got const show results, and then set show results. That's going to equal use state a default false. All right, and two more. We got const results, and then set results. Default is going to be brackets. So score by default is going to be 0. Correct answers. By default is going to be 0. And then wrong answers by default is going to be 0. All right. Now two more. We got const time remaining, and then set time remaining. That's going to equal use state 25. I'm going to start off with 25 seconds. You can actually do however many you want, but we're going to do 25 seconds. And then const, I'm going to do timer running, and then set timer running. That's going to equal use state, and by default false. All right, so we got all our states set. Perfect. Okay, so now it's time to work on our timer, because this is what we're working on first. We're going to work on I'm going to do time remaining. So this should be just 25. So we should see it 25. I'm actually going to give it a class name of BG primary. I'm going to do a text of white And do like a px of 4, rounded md, and then a py of 1. All right, perfect. All right, so we get to see it there, and then we can do time remaining, and then seconds to answer. All right, so then we're about to work on this timer first. So underneath all of our state, we're going to do a use effect. Use effect. All right, so we're going to do let timer. And this is a Node.js dot timeout. Make sure you set that type because you will get some errors. So we're going to check if the timer is running and time remaining is greater than 0. I'm going to do if the timer is running and time remaining is greater than 0. And we're going to do to timer equals set timeout. All right, and we're going to set our time remaining. We're going to take in a previous time. So we're going to do prev time, and then we're just going to return our prev time minus 1. So basically just decrementing it every time, taking in a previous minus 1, taking in a previous minus 1. So basically just going down. All right, and we want this set timeout to run every 1 second. Okay, so 1000. All right, and then we need an else if our time remaining is is equal to 0, we're going to run this function called handle time up. So we didn't create that handle time up function yet. Okay, and then after this, we're just going to return clear timeout of our timer. Okay, and since we're using use effect, we need our dependency array. So we only want to listen out for changes in our timer running state and then our time remaining. Okay, so we're going to do a cons start timer. That's going to equal to arrow function, and here we're just going to do set timer running to true. All right, so that's start timer. I'm actually going to copy this and I'm going to paste it 2 more times. We got start timer, we got stop timer, and it's just going to set timer running to false. All right, and then last but not least, we got reset timer. And this here, this isn't going to set timer running to anything. This is going to set our time remaining back to 25. Okay, hopefully all this is making sense. It's really simple. All right, and now we're going to do a const handle time up. So this is when the time is up. So if that time hits 0, we gotta tell it what to do. Right. So here we're going to stop timer. Oh, spelled it wrong. That's why. Stop timer, reset timer. Okay. We're going to stop the timer. We want to reset the timer back, and then we also going to run our next question function that we haven't made yet. All right. Let's refresh, and I think once we refresh, the timer should start going down. Maybe not. Okay. You want to know why? Because our timer running is currently false. We never really set it to true. So let's go and set that to true. And now let's see, refresh. There we go. Whoa, it started going down. There we go, 23, 22, 21, 20. But we're gonna set this back to false. Okay, and let's refresh so it can go back to 25. Let's work on our on answer selected function first, because we're gonna need that instead of our next question function. So we're gonna do on answer selected. So we're gonna do answer, which is going to be string, and then we're also going to take in our index, which is going to be a number. All right. We need our arrow. All right. So first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna set checked to true. All right. And then we're going to set our answer, set select the answer index to our index. Then we're gonna run an if check. If our answer is triple equals to correct answer, this is supposed to be selected answer, set selected, sorry. And then down here, set selected answer. We're going to set selected answer to our answer, and then we're just going to do else. We're going to set selected answer to empty quotes. All right, so we can ignore this error here, this correct answer. Ignore that for now. So underneath this function there, we're going to do a const next question. In here, first thing we're going to do is we're going to set selected answer index to null, and then we're going to set results. We're going to take in our previous, and then we're going to return selected answer question mark. So if it's selected answer, we're going to take in to the spread operator, take in our previous, comma, and then score. We're going to take our prev dot score plus 5. All right, so we're going to add 5 every single time, but that's only if they get it right. And then correct answers, I'm going to take the prev dot correct answers plus 1. All right, perfect. And then down here, we got to make sure we do our else. Well, else we're just going to return dot prev wrong answers. I spelled wrong answers wrong. Oh my god. Where are we at? Wrong answers. And that's going to take in, that's going to be our prev dot wrong answers plus 1. All right. Okay, perfect. So we're still getting an error there, that's fine. All right, so right after this, still inside of our next question function, we're going to check if our active question is not equals to our questions dot length minus 1. If it is, we're going to set our active question to our previous. We're going to take in a prev, and then we're going to return prev plus 1. Okay. All right. I think I messed up the state here. This is what's really, that's why I'm like keep pausing. I keep messing up here. Set active question and active question. Now you guys see what I go through when I'm making these projects. It's even worse. All right. So and then we need our else because we're doing this if. So else, we're going to set show results to true. And we also want to stop the timer. We don't want that timer to be going. And now this is where we're going to fetch our API route. So we're going to fetch, this is after the quiz is gone. We're going to fetch /API /quizResults. And after this, we're going to do a comma, brackets. We got to give it a method, which is post. And we also got to do our headers, which is going to be content -type, and that's going to be application.json. All right, so now we need to do our body. So our body is going to be JSON.stringify. Right. And in here, we're going to send over our user ID. We're also going to send over our quiz score. That's going to be our results. Result.score. And then correct answers. And last but not least, our wrong answers. Going to be result.wrong answers. So now we need to do some error handling. We can do a .then, take in a response, and do if our response .then. I know we can do a .then there, maybe. Let's see. Okay, I had to get rid of that. That's why I was getting an error. So if our response, so we got to do it if it's not okay. So response.okay. We could just do a I guess we could just throw a new error, and we could just type whatever we want to hear on network isn't working, fam. All right, and then down here we could just return our response.json. Okay, I'm gonna set checked to false, and we also want the timer to reset. Reset timer. Okay. All right, perfect. Now we can start styling this thing up, and yeah, let's see if this thing works. Hopefully it works. Okay. So we can actually just scroll down a bit. All right. So first thing, actually, let's just cut this, and then whenever it's time to use it, I'll just paste it in there. All right. So we're gonna have a div. This is going to have a class name of min height 500 pixels. We have another div with a class name of max width 1500 pixels, mx of auto with 90%, flex, justify center, yeah, py of 10, and then a flex call. Okay. Now we're gonna render some stuff out conditionally. So whenever the quiz is done, we want to show the results, and that's the whole reason why we have this show results state here. Where is it? Show results there. So we need to basically render some stuff. I wonder why this isn't. Answer is correct answer. We must be forgetting something. Hold on, guys. Okay, I see where we forgot something. Now it all makes sense. And this is this is why I was pausing throughout the video. I was a little confused. So we forgot to destructure some stuff out of our props that we're receiving. So we forgot to take out the question, the answers, and also the correct answer. And that's going to be coming from our questions with the index of active question. Okay. Forgot the comma. Okay, there we go. So now we shouldn't have any errors here. Perfect. All right, so inside of this div, if it's not show results, so if the quiz isn't done yet, we want to render out fragment, a div, probably didn't need that fragment, class name of flex, justify between, margin bottom of 10, item center, and inside this div we have another div with a class name of BG primary, a text of white, a PX of 4, a rounded MD, and a PY of 1. Right. Inside this div we're gonna have a H2, and inside this H2 it's going to say question, and it's going to be our active question plus 1. Let's take a look. Oh, we don't have an else. So for now, let's just down here for the else, we could just return null, but we're going to come back and change that. All right, nice. So we see our active question there. Okay, so underneath this H2, we're going to have a span, and it's going to have slash brackets. It's going to be questions dot length. Take a look. So it should say 1 out of 10 because we only got 10 questions. All right, and I don't know why that is all the way over there like that. So underneath this div, we're gonna have another div. Maybe this will fix it. And let's have a class name of BG primary. Actually, this is going to be our same exact div as, so that right there. Okay, so this closing div here needs to come down here. I believe that should fix it, but this should, I'm not sure why that is like that. Let's see what's going on here. Let's put this span inside of this H2 like that. Perfect. All right, nice. Okay, so after this div here, we're gonna have another div, and we have an H3, and this is going to have a class name of margin bottom 5, text 2XL, and a font of bold. And in here is going to be our question. Take a look. So that is our first question. And then after this H3, we're gonna have a UL, and this is where we're gonna map through our answers. Through answers, that map. Make some space here. We'll be taking in an answer, which is a string, and then also our index, which is a number. And we're gonna return some JSX, so we're using parentheses. We're gonna return a li. And this li is gonna have a key of our index. And it's also gonna have an on click, which is going to set our on answer selected. On answer selected. That's going to actually we're running an on answer selected function, sorry. And we're sending over our answer and also our index. Okay. All right. And we can also give this li a class name of cursor pointer, a margin bottom 5, py of 3, a rounded md, on hover, we want the BG to be primary, and then also on hover, we want the text to be white. All right. Okay. All right. So inside of this li, actually, we forgot one thing. So for the class name, we're actually going to render out conditionally. So we can get rid of these quotes here, and we're going to do, let's highlight it, do brackets, and then highlight it again. I'm going to do backticks like that. All right. And so we got px3 cover text white. Let's do px3. We forgot that. All right. And let's make some space here. So now we're going to do $ bracket. And then down here, we're going to do selected answer index. So if it's equal to our index, and the class name, the BG is going to be primary. BG going to be primary, and also our text is going to be white. So basically, if we click it, our BG is going to be primary and our text is going to be white. Also, if we hover, so check this out. We click it, see that it stays that color. Click that. Okay, so inside of this li, we're going to have a span, and it's going to be our answer. Let's take a look. Perfecto. Then we get our answers there. All right. So after this UL, we want our button. And this button is going to have the on click of our next question function. And also we're going to disable this button. So you won't be able to click next question if you don't have an answer selected. So we're going to disable this button every time the answer is not selected. So if checked, it's not true. And we're also going to give this a class name of font bold. And now we're going to render out this button conditionally. So if our active question is triple equals to our questions dot length -1, we want the text to say finish. Else, we just wanted to say next question. Next question, as you can see, is disabled because we don't have one checked. But now once we click, we can click it. Perfect. All right. So we can actually test something out right quick. I want to see if our quiz results is getting saved in the back end. So let's go ahead and just finish out this. Okay, disappears. Let's hit over to our MongoDB and see if it saves. And we don't got nothing. All right, I say we finish styling this up. A few more stuff we have to do. Let's finish styling this up, and then we'll take a look at why it's not saving in the back end. Okay, so after our button here, our div. So now we, instead of null, we're going to return our results. So for now, we're just going to put a div with a class name of text center. Okay. And then in here, we're going to have a h3 with a class name of text2xl, uppercase, and margin bottom 10. And this is going to say results. And I got like a little emoji. Just going to copy and paste over. All right. So we should be at the results there. Okay. So we got to work on our stat card. We're taking in a title and also a value. We got to find our types here. So title is a string, and value is also The value is going to be a string. It can be a number. And it can also be undefined. Okay. And then we're going to return a div with a class name of pattern5, around it MD, BG primary, text white, text center, and then text 2XL. And here we're going to have a H3, and this is going to have a class name of uppercase and text base. And this is going to have our title. All right. And then underneath here, we're going to have a span, and that's just going to hold our value. Okay. All right. So let's head back over to our quiz component. So underneath this H3, we're going to have a div, have a class name of grid. On LG screens and up, it's going to be grid col3. On medium screens and up, it's going to be grid col2. And then gap of 10. In here, we're going to render out some stat cards. Stat card. All right. The first one, title, is going to be percentage. And the value is going to be backticks, $, brackets, parentheses, our result, dot score, /50. And we're also going to times that by 100. So we got a 0%, and we also get an error. Okay, network isn't working. Okay, so there's something going on with our function. We must have forgot something. So we got our percentage, which I guess we got a 0. We must have got everyone wrong. Let me just go back and make sure. There's no way we just got a 0%. Hold on. And that's the whole reason why you always should error handle. Okay, yeah, so we are getting. All right, so I've been trying to get this to work for a while now. Not sure why. However, I just want to show you some of the changes that I made. So I did some little bit more error handling trying to get this to work. I don't know if you guys want to add this as well. So we did the dot, then we took in a response, and then we did an if check. If our response is not okay, we throw an error. And then we return the response.json. Then after that, I did another dot then, and I took in my data. And then I console logged if the quiz results was successful, then it just showed the data. And then I did a catch, dot catch, error, catch console logging the error saving quiz results, and then it showed the error. And then down here, we just set checked to false and reset the timer. So with that, I took the quiz and it's saving to the database, right? Everything is saving right. But the bug that we're having is that it's not saving the quiz results. I'm not sure why it's not, like, it's just showing 0 and showing that I've gotten every question wrong for some reason. So I say we finish up the stat cards right quick, and then we're gonna try to figure out that error. So this value is result.score /50 times 100, and then a little % sign. So we can actually copy this. And what I'm gonna do is actually probably copy the ones over here. So we're gonna have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 cards. So this next one is going to be, we're sending over total questions and also the question.length. And then this next one's going to be, that changes to results. Next one's going to be our total score. And then the next one's going to be our total correct answers, results.correct answers. And then the next one's going to be wrong answers. I'm going to just change this to wrong. And then change this to results. Oh man. Results dot wrong answers. All right, let's give that a save. So it's showing our total questions, right? Showing that we got every question wrong for some reason. And also we also forgot to, so if you notice, let's head back over and start our quiz over. So if you notice, our timer's not starting for some reason now. So to fix that, underneath our handle time up, we're going to make a use effect. Do use effect. And we're going to start timer on our start timer function. But we don't want it to keep running forever, so we're going to return stop timer. Okay. So whenever the component unmounts, it's going to stop the timer. Okay. So now the timer's going. All right, guys. So it took me, I want to say, a few hours to figure this out. So the issue that we was having is whenever we completed a quiz, it wasn't saving our correct answers. It would just show 0 for everything. So you guys will never believe what it was. So if we head over to quiz page, I had an S here, right? And it's just supposed to be correct answer. Yeah, today's not my day. I just recorded, I want to say, an hour left of this project, or maybe like 30-45 minutes, and it just wasn't recording. So yeah, so I'm basically just backtracking of some stuff that I already did, which sucks. So now once we complete a quiz, now we have a percentage, we got our total score, correct answers, and wrong answers. And all of this is getting tracked inside here. Head over to quiz results. And then we got our total score. We got correct answers and wrong answers. All right, so let's go back to our quiz page. I believe we left off down here right after this. So we did a button and did an on click here. This on click, this window.location.reload, this basically just reloads the page. And whenever we reload the page, it just starts over the quiz. That's the whole reason why that's there. And we added a class name of margin top 10, font bold, and uppercase. And then inside this button, it says for start quiz. So those are the only changes made on here. Actually, it was one more change. We added a arrow for next question. So this little HTML entity, you can just head over to Google and type in right arrow HTML entity, and this will pop up. All right. So that is it for our quiz. So now it's time to work on our stat page and our leaderboard page, and then we'll be completed. So close out of this app. We're going to create another folder, and it's going to be called leaderboards. Inside here, we're going to do a page.tsx. Export it. And now we can actually head over to leaderboards now, and we should see page there. All right, so we're going to make a few imports here. Let's see, leaderboards. So we're going to import Prism. This is going to be coming from our @lib. Don't know why it's like that. Oh man, I really need to go to sleep. @/lib/Prisma. And then we're going to import image. That's going to be coming from Next. And then last but not least, we're going to import FA crown. I'm actually going to copy this, paste that in there. So what I might do is actually just copy over some of this code, because like I said, I just did this and I wasn't recording, and just copy just a little bit of it and just go over each line. I think it'll be faster and much easier anyway. So here we're just doing a const users await Prisma user.find many, and then we're including the quiz results. So we're just grabbing all of our users inside of our database, and as you can see, we're getting an error because we got to make this a async function like that. All right, and now we're going to do a users.sort. We're going to do sort method, and we're also going to use the reduce method. So basically, we're just going to sort the users by quiz score in a descending order. And ACC, I'm about to paste it. ACC stands for accumulator, and cur is the current value. So that's what we're doing here. So we got users.sort, and we just AB. This can actually be anything. We can do Antonio and Rogers, and then it'll still work. But just AB. And then we're doing b.quizResults.reduce. And like I said, we're taking in the accumulator, the current value, and we're doing accumulator plus our current quiz score. All right. And then same down here, we're minusing it. So like I said, we're doing by descending. So we're doing it from top to bottom, I guess. Yeah. Like the highest to lowest. That sounds better. All right. And now let's go ahead and write some JSX. I'm actually going to type this. So we're going to have a div. Have a class name. We're going to do a max width of 1500 pixels. I'm going to do mx of auto. A width of 90%. And then a py of 10. And here we're going to have a h1 with a class name of font bold. Margin bottom 4, text center, text 2XL, and uppercase. And here we're gonna have leaderboards with a like trophy emoji. Let's take a quick look. Wonder why it's got the dash for text 2XL. All right, perfect. And underneath this H1, we're gonna have an OL. I know you guys like OL, I never used that. We're using it in this project. Users.map. Take in the user and also our index. And then we're gonna return a li. And we're gonna give it a key of user.id. And also gonna give it a class name, but we're gonna render this out conditionally. So we're gonna do brackets, backticks, py of 4. Then we're gonna do $, brackets. And now we're gonna check if the index is less than 3. We want the styling to be font bold. Else we just want nothing there. So basically we're going to give the top 3 users font bold for their usernames. Okay, so inside this li we're going to have a div with a class name of flex, item center, gap of 5, and a width of full. All right, and I have another div, class name of flex, small screens and up, and do a flex row, flex col, gap of 1, justify between, width of full, item center. All right, I have another div in here with a class name of flex, gap of 3, item center. item center. All right, and here we're gonna have another div. I'm joking, it's gonna be a span this time, don't worry. Span class name of text XL, and then a margin bottom of 1. All right, and we have render our index +1. Take a look. We only got 2 users in this project. The demo that I showed at the beginning of this video that had more users, so that's how the leaderboards will look if you have more users. But we only got 2 users, so that's why it's going to look a little bit weird. But just if you want it to look like the demo, just add more users. We got spin. I'm gonna render our image from Next. The source is going to be user.profilepic. Width is going to be 30. Height is going to be 30. And then alt, do brackets, backticks, image of $ bracket user.username. All right. Then we do a class name of rounded full. And let's take a look. Nice. So we got our image. All right, so after this, we have a span, class name of text XL, and here we're gonna have our user.username. Underneath the span, we're gonna render out a crown. So if for the number 1 user, it's going to have a crown next to his name. So to do that, all we gotta do is take in our index, and if it triple equals to 0, we want to return FA crown. And we're going to give this a class name of inline block, width of 6, height of 6, text yellow 500, and then a margin bottom of 1. Take a look. Nice, we got a crown next to my name. Let's get it. All right, so we got span, we got our div, and then we have totals. Underneath this div, we're gonna have a span. Oh man, span. And this is going to have actually no class name. I have total quiz score. I'm gonna do brackets, quotes, add like a little space in there. It's a little trick to add a space. Then we're going to render our quiz results and the user dot quiz results dot reduce, and we're going to take in that ACC again. I'm going to take in the current value, and we're going to return ACC plus our current value dot quiz score. And since we're using reduce, we got to make sure we add comma 0. Perfecto. All right, so now it's time to do our stat page. All right, so we can close out of this, and we're gonna make another folder inside of our app. It's gonna be called stats. And in here, we're gonna have a page.tsx. All right, so we're gonna import stat cart, and then we're also gonna import our fetch users. All right, and since we're going to be using our fetch user server action, we got to make sure we change this to async. And then we're going to do a const current user is going to equal await fetch users. All right, so I'm actually going to copy this code and paste it in here. It's just a little bit of JSX, not too much. We most likely, we will get errors here. So it's showing that the current user is possibly undefined. So we could just add a question mark there because it's possibly undefined. I'll just add question marks there, give it a save, make sure everything works. So we got our stats there, perfect. So just to go over it, we did a div with a padding top and bottom of 20. We got another div inside that with text center, margin bottom 10, text 2XL, uppercase. In here we got our current user.data.user.name. So basically just our username. And then I added stats and a emoji there. In here we got our container, and it's just holding our stat cards. If you guys remember, in our side of our stat card, we're looking out for these props, which is title and value. And that's what we're doing inside of our stat page, which is basically telling the title, giving it the value. Really simple. That's why I just copied this part over. Title, correct answers, value that, which is our quiz results, dot correct answers, and same with our wrong answers. And this is what we get. All right, so there is one bug that I'm glad I remembered. So if we let the timer run out and it automatically goes to the next question by itself, the timer won't start. But if we click on next question, the timer will start. So to fix that little bug, we can head over to quiz, and inside of our next question function, right underneath reset timer, I kind of want to see it happen. Oh, as you can see it, look, it went to the next question and now it's not starting again. So to fix that, all we got to do is call our start timer function like that. And now once it goes, as you can see it started again. So now everything should work the way it's supposed to. If I missed anything, don't feel free to message me on LinkedIn or GitHub or my Discord. I probably need to put my Discord inside of the description. I don't think I have it there. But I get a ton of messages from people all the time that they, find small little bugs or small little issues in my projects, which is, totally fine. Don't be afraid to message me because honestly, I'm still learning. I started learning code last year, so I'm learning as I build these projects. So yeah, if you see anything wrong, see any issues, different ways I should approach things, please let me know because I am eager to learn. But yeah, I will see you guys next video. Peace.